Ms. Street gave us some essential questions to think about during our pendulum unit, such as how might a pendulum work and what scientific and artistic observations can you make from creating a pendulum painting. Our groups tested and recorded how string length and weight affects the overall oscillations of a pendulum. We recorded our predictions and actual data in a table and made a double bar graph showing the longer the string, the fewer the oscillations. We confirmed and adjusted our findings using an online pendulum simulation. Using the pendulum simulation, let us see how two different string lengths and weights would affect the overall swing of the pendulum. If we use a longer string, the pendulum would swing at a slower rate because it has more distance to travel.
Now it was time to design and build and test our group pendulums. We had to work together to test and adjust the structure to make it strong enough to withstand the forces of potential energy, kinetic energy, and centrifugal motion. Once we had a strong enough pendulum, we had to test the nozzle for proper flow. The best part was experimenting outside with water to practice the point and angle of release to make our design. Practicing with the water outside was important because at first the bottle would hit the legs of our pendulum, so we had to figure out how to adjust our point of release to prevent the bottle from hitting the legs. This disrupted the swinging motion of the pendulum, which was not good for our design. We made adjustments and then planned for our group painting.
After our group had the process down, it was time to create our group pendulum painting. We learned about viscosity and the importance of proper ratio of paint to water. If there was one more paint than water, the design wouldn't have a steady line, and if there was more water than paint, the lines would bleed into each other during the drying process. We recorded our observations and adjustments to the pendulum painting in our notes to use for our essay. We noticed that every group had a different design which had to do with their point and angle of release of their paint. Also, as more paint left the bottle, this caused the speed of the pendulum to slow down, which made the lines closer together. Some groups chose to overlap their design in different stages, and others chose to use contrasting colors in these different stages. Here are some of the group pendulum paintings.
Using the observations and adjustments from our group's painting, we then did our individual pendulum painting. The focus of our individual design was to incorporate a few elements of art we learned in the beginning of the year, such as line, balance, and color. We used chalk pastels to provide contrast from the white paper and black paint.
In closing of our science and art of the pendulum unit, we wrote an essay based on the essential questions Ms. Street gave us and overall observations and experience of the unit. For example, we wrote, the loss of paint affects the painting by slowing down the oscillations. Some creative forces such as overlapping lines and thickness of the lines are caused from natural forces. And overall, what can be learned from pendulum painting is that science and art can work together to make beautiful pieces of art.